Hi guys, welcome back. Today, we're gonna compare two bikes with the same engine specs and from the same manufacturer. It's the Yamaha MT15 versus Yamaha's R15 version 3.0. For the comparison, we'll be considering these 5 factors to cover every aspect of the bikes. So let's not waste any time and let's start with the first factor, which is the design. The design of both these bikes are very different but still very striking. First, let's check the R15 version 3.0, and here the design is inspired from Yamaha's very own track bike, the R1. It has the sport bike style design which is very bold and striking. The headlight and tail light both are LED, and here the headlight has this twin eye design which looks nice, but for the range it's not great, but it does the job. During pitch dark you can get through, but I really wished the range and coverage of this LED headlight was better. Then for the fuel tank, it's a very chunky one with nice curves to tuck in your leg. And actually one thing I like about this bike is the ergonomics of it for track use. The R15 version 3.0 also gets simple yet attractive graphics on the side, and for the pillion grab rail, it is this small groove inbuilt to the rear section. Now it's matching with the design theme, but for usability, it's not that great. Then if we check the handlebar, here it's the clip-on type handlebar, which is what we surely expect from a bike like this, and for the switch controls, you get the dim bar bright switch with integrated pass light control, indicator toggle, horn, engine kill switch, and self start switch. I feel all the switch controls available here are spot on. Then for the instrument console, it's a LCD panel which has white backlight, and it's a really good panel. The visibility during a bright sunny day is excellent, and the panel shows a lot of information like the speed, RPM, fuel level, trip, gear shift indication, etc. Then finally for the exhaust, it's also sharp looking with a black protector. So that's all for the R15 version 3.0's design, and I really like it. It's a bike which surely did borrow good design elements from the R1, and that makes this bike a very attractive one if you really like sport bike design. Now for the MT15, I would say the design is a bit more interesting and also very fresh. It has this naked bike design, and the reason I said the design is fresh is because just take a look from the front. The headlight used is a very unique bifunctional LED headlight, and there is also two eye-shaped auxiliary lights. Now, this main headlight unit, even though it looks small, its performance is better than the one in the R15. Even in very dark conditions, you can get through with ease. And overall from the front, with the chin down design merging with the upright forks, it surely looks stunning. And now, if you check the fuel tank, it's a very muscular one, and here also you get proper curves to tuck in your leg. From the front of the tank, there is this mesh pattern, and on the side, you get a Yamaha logo and also a MT15 branding. Now, if you check the instrument console, it's a very unique one. It's a negative LCD display, and it shows almost the same stuff you see with the instrument console on the R15. And for the readability of it under bright conditions, I feel the R15's was slightly better. Then for the handlebar, here you get the straight type handlebar with the same switch controls found on the R15, but here the controls are just shuffled. Now if you check the rear design, the taillight is a raised one which is also LED, and I like the taillight design, but the pillion grab rail looks a bit weird. I'm not a fan of this because it looks like an afterthought, but about its usability, it's a comfortable one for the pillion to hold. And finally for the exhaust, it's almost identical to the one you get with the R15. So that's the overall design of the MT15, and like I said in the beginning, both these bikes get entirely different design theme, but both are very attractive bikes. Well, if I had to choose one just based on design, I'll pick the MT15 because of its much more beastly look. But you can't choose a bike just based on design, and therefore, let's check the second factor, which is the specs. Here the engine specs of both these bikes are the same. Yamaha used the same 155cc liquid-cooled 4-stroke single-cylinder fuel-injected engine, and this engine generates really good power and also sufficient torque. The method of starting in both the bikes is just self-start, and the gearbox used is again the same, which is a 6-speed gearbox. And you also get assist and slipper clutch and also variable valves actuation system on both the bikes. Then for the tires used, they are also of the same dimensions for the R15 and the MT15. Well, that's all for the identical stuff in the spec side, and now let's check the rest of the specs, and for that, let's start with the R15. The R15 is the heavier of the two bikes, weighing 142 kg, and here the ground clearance is 170 mm. The fuel tank capacity of the R15 is just 11 liters, and for the suspensions used, the front is telescopic fork, and the rear is swing arm monoshock. Then for the brakes, the front is 282 mm disc, and the rear is 220 mm disc, and here, finally you get dual channel ABS. So that means ABS is equipped in both the front and the rear. Now for the MT15, its weight is 138 kg, and for the ground clearance, it's lesser than what you get with the R15, and here it's 155 mm. The fuel tank capacity is also lesser compared to the R15 at just 10 liters for the MT15, and for the suspensions, the front is telescopic fork and the rear is swing arm monoshock. Then for the brakes, it's again the same with 282 mm disc on the front and 220 mm disc on the rear, but here the ABS is just single channel ABS. Well, the specs were almost the same for both the bikes, but still the next factor will vary because both these bikes have an entirely different structure. And this factor is one of the most important ones, and it's the ride quality and comfort. We'll start with the R15, and here this bike surely does shine with all the technology used. The engine is a powerful one and it has really good initial pickup and accelerates with ease. The gear system used is very smooth and precise, and within no time you can hit the 100+ km/h mark. Yamaha's engines are very refined, and same is the case with this 155cc engine. And here I didn't experience any vibrations at a speed ranging from 0 to 100 km/h. The slipper clutch used here makes gear shifting a fun thing, and overall I really like the performance and quality of this engine. And since the performance is great, I was really happy that Yamaha did use a dual channel ABS system here. And I can say it with confidence that this braking combo was excellent. I was able to do quick stops without any issues. Then also one more thing to note is that since the rear tire was sufficiently wide, taking tight corners was not a problem. But everything is not great here. And the main issue is the riding posture. It's well suited for track rides, but not for daily commutes. It's because the handlebar is a bit far from the rider, and therefore the rider has to lean forward to get hold of the handlebar, and it's a very aggressive posture, and hence if you're planning to use this bike for city commutes, it's going to be a bit of a stress. And also maneuvering through traffic with this bike will not be that great. Well, even though the riding posture was not upright, the seats used had good cushioning and was sufficiently wide. Both the rider and pillion will not experience any stress from the seats, but the pillion will surely find it difficult to get in because the pillion seat is set awkwardly high. Then finally for the suspension quality, it's not a stiff one, and therefore even while riding through rough patches, I didn't experience any stress or strain. And one more thing to note is that the seat height of the R15 was perfect for me, with both my legs staying well planted on the ground. Now for the MT15, the engine, as you know, is the same in the R15 in terms of specs, and that's noticeable when you take the MT15 for a ride. The engine's performance is almost similar to the R15, and therefore hitting the 100 km/h mark is not at all an issue. And here also I didn't experience any stress or strain from the engine, and about vibrations, there wasn't any in speed range from 0 to 100. Same is the case with gear shifting. And also the clutch is pretty excellent and it's very smooth, and therefore you can do very quick shifts. Now since the MT15's performance is excellent, I was a bit concerned here with the single channel ABS, but during our testing, it did well and there wasn't any issues like skids or air wheel liftoff. But I feel in very extreme scenario, the dual channel ABS of the R15 is an added safety. Now even though Yamaha skipped with dual channel ABS on the MT15, what Yamaha did much better is actually the ride comfort. The riding posture is upright and the rider is sitting closer to the fuel tank, and therefore the handle stays close to the rider. And here because of this posture, this bike is surely an all-rounder. Let it be short city commutes, long rides or even track rides, everything is possible with the MT15. And what I would like to stress here is for city commutes, it's very easy with this bike. You can easily flick around through traffic, and here the ride control is just awesome. The bike stays well in control with the rider, and that's all because of the bike's design. And the seats used here has good cushioning, and hence the rider will enjoy it. But one problem is that it's a very small seat, and hence the pillion will have some difficulty. And I feel this bike is designed for solo rides. Then for the suspension, I don't know why, but it was set a bit more stiff than the one in the R15. Well, even though it was like that, I didn't experience any problems even while riding through some bad road conditions. And finally, here with the MT15, the seat height is higher than the seat height on the R15, but still for me, both my legs stayed well planted on the ground. Well, that's all for the ride quality and comfort, and here based on performance, I feel it's not fair to pick one, but based on overall usage, I really know my choice, and it's the MT15. Now, let's not finalize one because there are a couple more factors, and therefore, let's move on to the fourth factor, which is the mileage. Here, as I said before, both these bikes have lower fuel tank capacity, and in that, the worst one is the MT15. But for the mileage, the MT did perform better, where during our testing, we got approximately 39 km/L for the MT15 and 35 km/L for the R15. Now, like I always say, this may vary for you based on your riding style and also based on riding conditions. And now to the final factor, which is the price. For the MT15, there is just one model, and that model's present ex-showroom pricing is 1,30,579 rupees, no matter what color you choose. And for the colors, there are two options available. Then for the R15, based on specs, there is just one model, but based on color, the pricing varies, and here's the present ex-showroom price list. And the cheapest model here is actually more pricier than the MT15. Well, that's all for the comparison, and here I feel both these bikes are actually targeting different category of riders. R15 is more for people who like track rides, and MT15 is more for a general use but still needs that raw power. And for me, I actually fall in the category of riders who prefer an all-rounder bike, and hence I'm gonna pick the MT15 as my choice from these two. Well, the reason I picked the MT15 over the R15 is mainly because I prefer upright riding posture and great control, and here the MT actually shines in both compared to the R15. Then even the mileage was better with the MT15, and also its pricing is less compared to the R15. But still, there are things I'm not a fan of with the MT15, and in that the main thing is the pillion seating. Well, that's up for this video, guys. Hope you liked it. If so, please do hit the like button, and please do subscribe. And also, before you go, please let us know your choice in the comment section below. See you again in the next one. Till then, bye.